Hello, I'm going to present about tundra, which is the coldest biome on the Earth with low temperature and low precipitation. This is map of tundra. It's located in high altitude latitudes from 55 to 70 degrees north, and it's in northern Russia, Canada, Scandinavia, Greenland, and Eurasia. Almost all tundras are located in the northern hemisphere. Small areas exist in the Antarctica, but because it's much colder than Arctic, the ground is always covered with snow and ice. Abiotic factors: the annual average temperature of tundra is -28 degrees Celsius. At night, temperature drops to -70 degrees Celsius in average. In summer, it's from 3 to 16 degrees Celsius. In winter, it's about -45 degrees to -35 degrees Celsius. It shows that there's a huge difference between day and night temperature and summer and winter temperature. An average precipitation is 15 to 25 centimeter, which is mostly snow, and it's less than most of the world's greatest desert. There is high level of wind in tundra because it does not have any trees to slow down the wind, and the wind can help keep tundra plants to be short and ground-hugging. There's low solar radiation in tundra because the sun's rays always strike tundra at highly oblique angle in the northern hemisphere, and because the Earth is tilted, extreme seasonal variation occurs. So in the picture, it's winter in Arctic and it barely receives any sunlight, but when it's summer and sunward facing, the sun can stay above the horizon for 24 hours of the day. There are two types of tundra, alpine and Arctic tundra. Alpine tundra are on mountains where trees cannot grow in the high altitude, and there's longer growing seasons than Arctic tundra due to their lower latitude. In Arctic tundra, there's permafrost, which is thick layer of soil that remains permanently frozen, which is about 25 to 100 centimeter, and some vegetation grow during the short summer of Arctic tundra in the growing season. This graph above shows the temperature on tundra in each month, and this graph shows precipitation of tundra in each month, and when these graphs are combined, it creates climatogram. So tundra's location causes great seasonal variation in temperature and day length. In summer, it has lengthy days with only 50 to 60 days, which is a growing season, and winter, it's extremely cold with little daylight. And in the bar graph, as you can see, precipitation is higher in summer because the temperatures are too low to cause evaporation that can cause rain. Biodiversity. There are only few species with large population, and they're highly vulnerable to this biome because of the climate change. There's only about 1,700 different species with 48 species of land mammals. Autotrophs, they have to adapt to savage, cold and harsh wind via low height and clumping together, as you can see in the pictures, and trees cannot grow because of the permafrost. And no plant in this area have deep root systems, so they remain in the wet topsoil. From left to right, it's reindeer moss, crowberry, heath, liverwort, and lichen. Heterotrophs, they require layers of fat and fur or feathers for adaptation. They must be active in winter or migrate due to the lack of winter food. The picture shows salmon, seal, polar bear, gray wolf, and caribou. Scavengers, they seek out dead animals in order to eat them. The pictures on the right side, there are there are Arctic wolf, Arctic fox, snowy owl, and glaucous gull. They usually follow polar bear kills to eat dead animals that polar bear killed. There's not many decomposers in the tundra, which decomposes the organic materials, but one example is Arctic soil bacteria. The keystone species in tundra is lemming because they are eaten by every predator of Arctic tundra, and they are also the rare rodent species in tundra. And Arctic fox, they are primary to many species, so these two species are both keystone because of the ecological reasons. Endangered species are Arctic fox because of overhunting in some areas and the emergence of the large red fox, and polar bear because ice packs are slowly melting, so the hunting for seals, which is their main food source, is becoming harder. The current state of tundra. Permafrost is the biggest problem in tundra right now. It it means that permafrost is melting, and usually in the southern Arctic. Because its problem because permafrost contains greenhouse gas with 40% of Earth's carbon, with large amount of methane too. So the process is like the tundra was carbon sink on the Earth because it traps the carbon dioxide due to its climate, and plants cannot decompose in tundra, so the dead plants remain in the permafrost, but as the temperature rises, it's becoming the carbon contributor because permafrost is melting and the dead plants is making greenhouse gas in the permafrost, which will go to the atmosphere. There are also other problems in the tundra. First, climate change. The average temperature is 3.5 degrees Celsius higher than 1900s, and after glaciers melt down, animals who rely on glaciers like polar bears will decrease in population. And temperature will increase even more rapidly in tundra because glaciers usually they reflect sunlight, which helps keep the planet cooler, but as glacier melts, it will accelerate the temperature rise. And human activities. More people move to work in mines and oil rigs, which increases the risk of toxic spills. And the pollution from mining and drilling for oils had polluted the air, lakes, and the rivers in tundra. And invasive species, as I mentioned for for the endangered species, the red fox, which is found usually in the south, is moving onto the north onto tundra and competing with the Arctic fox, which makes Arctic fox in danger. Nature disaster. As the temperature rises, more woody vegetation is bringing higher chance of wildfire. For example, in 2007, a fire started in the north slope of Alaska by a lightning strike and burned for 3 months, burning 400 square miles. National parks, they had not been altered by human activities, and most of Tundra National Parks are in Alaska. It has 23 national parks, attracting more than 2 million visitors and $200 million in a year. Two examples are Delaney National Park in Alaska, which contains alpine and Arctic tundra, and Notok National Preserve, also in Alaska, which has alpine tundra and boreal forest. Many groups are trying to preserve this area, so conservation biology in tundra, the main groups are WWF, World Wildlife Federation. First, they are helping Arctic animals to adapt in rapidly changing climate, working with governments and companies to reduce their impact on the Arctic. and they are also preserving areas in tundra such as Bering Sea ecoregion of Chukotka. For Greenpeace, they have the Save the Arctic campaign and also petition to raise money and awareness to people. Lastly, National Wildlife Refuge Association. It protects the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge in an area of 19.6 million acres in Alaska. Thank you.